Since a kid, I always knew I was gonna be a star by any means.
It ain't over, all the pain that I feel, all the tears that I cry, it be long before it dies.
I got the name Lost Angel. Before I was Lost Angel, I used to go by the name LA Swag. And as I got older, I was just like, it's super childish. And I knew sooner or later the word swag was gonna lose its trend. So I remember being on the phone with my brother, and he was in jail. And I was on the phone, and my mama was sitting right there, and I was like, I want to change my name. And I think I want to change it to Lost Angel. He was like, yeah, that's hard. And my mom, she was like, no, what you want to name the Lost Angel for? I said, every day we gotten through life with no God, not knowing what tomorrow brings and the day after that. And I'm an angel, so I'm Lost Angel. Just moving through life the way my cards was dealt. And she was like, I like it. And from that day forward, Lost Angel been history since. Music for me is not about being famous or becoming rich. It's almost more so like I was born to do this, and I ain't meant for nothing else. And even on my bad days when I feel like this music shit ain't working out, the only thing that make me feel better again is music. So I know I can't run from my destiny.
When I first came home from being incarcerated, LA told me she was rapping and shit like that. I ain't believe it. I'm like, man, you ain't rapping, man. But then I told her, I was like, man, kick something to me, you know what I'm saying? Let me see what you working with and shit like that. So we went in there to my old girl room, sat on the bed, and shit, she was flowing to me, like kicking that shit to me. I'm like, damn, boy, I'm feeling that. You know what I'm saying? The shit was so hard, I'm like, damn, man, you done stole that from one of these rappers. You ain't make that verse up, you know what I'm saying? But she like, nah, bro, this me, you know what I'm saying? So, I seen her like grow, like, you feel what I'm saying, with this music shit. Like, she went from writing to freestyling, you know what I'm saying? Like, the girl real deal talented, like, she really got that shit, like, you know what I'm saying? She really talented, though, man. Like, I tell her, like, keep on going, man, you got it, you feel what I'm saying? Hardest female rapper from Dade County, you heard me? But, yeah, man, that's how it was, dog. She lit too, man. Keep on grinding, LA, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of niggas sleep on her, you know what I'm saying? She really got it. A lot of niggas intimidated of her, you feel me? But I ain't afraid to say it. You know, that my little sister, man. She harder than me. She go hard, though, for real, man. Yeah.
And before I ever wanted to do music, I wanted to be a basketball player. So basketball really took up most of my childhood, but once I figured out I wanted to be a rapper, I just kept going with that. And since a kid, I always knew I had a bigger purpose in life. I always knew it was more out there in the world for me than just what I was dealt. Like, I just knew it. And people used to tell me, like, my dreams were so big. And at one point in time, I started believing them, like, I can't achieve this because my dreams are so big. And I remember not believing it so much that my old cameraman Spud had put me on the phone with Devontae Freeman. And I remember my 16-year-old self telling Devontae Freeman, he asked me, he said, where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself going with this music? And I told him, I said, to be real, I ain't even thought about it. And it was so bad, I told him, I ain't even think about tomorrow. And a week after that, you know, I was so trapped I couldn't see past my neighborhood. And I couldn't see past just the day. As long as I made it through the day, that was my motto. As long as I made it through the day, then I done it. So I used to live my day by day, not thinking about tomorrow. And I came to the realization that I didn't have no goals written out. I didn't have no plans. I was just doing it. I was just doing whatever I needed to do to get by. And later on, I thought about it, and I was disappointed in myself because, you know, I always told myself when the opportunity presents itself, you're going to always, you know, make the right decision on what you say and what you do. And I honestly felt like at that moment I did.
Man, I first really met LA on YouTube, like real deal YouTube. I was watching the Trap Voices performances and shit, and interviews and all that. And that's when I stumbled across LA. And when I did, as soon as I did, I contacted her, you know, let her know her music was like fire. You know, that was one of the best performances I've ever seen. And after that, you know, we locked in. You know, I went to one of her studio sessions, and after that, you know, we always had a good relationship. I always made sure she was good, and, you know, she made sure I was good. You know, she's definitely a star. Definitely. You know, her voice is just amazing. One of the best female rappers like ever, especially in Miami. You know, her time gonna come too. Her time is definitely gonna come. You know, just keep on grinding, LA. Keep on, you know, just keep on doing it on them. You feel me? And never stop.
My biggest inspiration in my childhood would probably be my grandpa. My grandpa was on drugs bad, and he was on heroin, he was on coke, he was a drunk, and somehow he just became my biggest superhero. And I always felt like if he can do it, I can do it, and if he's told me I can do it, I can do it. And he always made me believe. Part of the reason why he became my biggest inspiration as a kid, because he always made me believe that I can do anything and I can become whatever I set out to be. And as a kid, that's all you need. All you need is somebody who to believe in you, no matter who they are. That's why kids can't identify a killer or a rapist. All they want is somebody who believes in them, and that's all. And he believed in everything. When I told him I want to be a rapper, he believed in it. Basketball player, he believed in it. Painters, he believed in it. Artists, he believed in it. And that's all I needed. As a child growing up, that's all I needed to move day by day. And I just remember waking up and the car used to be gone, and my grandma ring used to be off her finger when she wake up from sleep. And we wasn't able to get to school because he used to go on a rampage where he used to take stuff and leave. And we was all dependent on one car. So when he didn't show up with the car, we had no way to get to school. And before he left, we used to have long talks on the side of the house. I can never forget these days. Like, we used to sit on the side of the house, and he used to be drinking a Budweiser beer. He never drank the foam at the bottom of the beer. And once he done, he let me throw it across the street. And we used to talk a long time, and he did this every time he was going to leave. He used to do it, but I couldn't pick up on the pattern because I was too young to realize what it was. But every time before he used to leave, we used to have these deep conversations just about life, period, and where we want to go and what we want to do, and his childhood, and, you know, and then he would just leave after that. And it would be months or weeks before we talk again, or before we find him, and then we'll have to go find and search for him. But after I got older, his actions pulled me away. He used to have holes in his hand, and as I got older, I started to learn that was from drugs. And I used to tell him, like, promise me you won't do drugs, Paul. He used to be like, yeah, I promise. And then he used to go and come back, and there's more fresh wounds in his hand and in his feet. And by that time, I tried to venture away from him because I was so disappointed in him. And it felt like when I had to depart from him, it felt like my childhood hero has been taken away from me, especially when he left, because one time he had got up and left and he never came back. And I don't know, I just felt like my whole world turned upside down. Like, at one time I didn't really care what he was doing or who he was. I just needed him to be there for me, because as long as he kept believing in me, I kept living within myself. And he was like my biggest inspiration as a kid. Like, I never wanted to be like him, but I wanted to, if I ever had a kid, I wanted them to feel like, you know, whatever you say, like my mom make me feel, whatever you say you're gonna do, you can do it, regardless. And that's why I always had that mindset that I had a bigger dream and a bigger purpose in life. And I always hung out with kids that was older than me. I never hung out with kids that was my age. If I was in 5th grade, my friends was in 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. And the reason why I did that, because my life and the problems I faced in life made me mature super early. And I watched my mom cry at a young age and stress over bills. And I lost my grandma at a young age. And I got kicked out of school for not having what other kids had at a young age. And I dealt with a lot of failure from my father at a young age. And it kind of taught me how to not depend on people, but make sure that I'm in the right space for myself. It taught me not how to depend on anybody and never depend on somebody's word. You know, like, actions speak louder than anything, and all those things made me mature more. So I never kept friends that were younger than me, because I was always mature and I was always on a money tip. Like, if it was gonna help me provide for my family, I never wanted to do it. Like, most kids wanted to hang at the park, smoke and chill, and I wanted to, you know, go do other stuff because it didn't help me provide. And I missed out on a lot of childhood stuff because at a young age, I was thinking about and ready to provide at a young age. I started rapping young, and by this time, I moved to behind the P.O. Palaka, and I had a friend named Ty, and he lived across the street from me. And I had these long cornrows, and he actually thought I was a boy when he first met me. So the whole day we was playing and we was rapping and we met, he thought I was a boy. His little sister thought I was a boy. And it was crazy. And then the next day I came with my hair combed out, and he seen I was a girl. It's like the funniest thing ever. But we became friends from there. I used to feed off his energy. Like, when he used to make music, and I feel like his verse was hard, I feeded off that and made something harder. He feed off me, made something harder, and like, we just kept doing it like that. So that kind of kept my music spirits up, and that kind of kept me off of the fact that my grandpa kept leaving in and out of my life. And that music was always my safe spot. Like, if nothing else stayed, I always had music there for me, waiting on me. Like, any disaster, later on that night, I had music, and that was something I always ventured off to. I got the name Ghetto Tears because it's a lot of pain that I experienced where I'm from, in my hood, in my ghetto. And it's a lot of stuff that I had to deal with, and a lot of stuff that I've dealt with that, you know, I just wanted to express in this tape. And I wanted it to just be a time when all my confessions and like all my pain, I wanted it to be a safe spot for me. And this tape is like, it means the most to me. Like, I had a lot of downfalls this year, and I had a lot of losses, and I had a lot of, you know, a lot of stuff going on this year, that this tape is gonna be that bundle of pain wrapped in one, and I'm done. And next year I'm moving on with new things. And yeah, so that's kind of where I got Ghetto Tears from. When I first started making music, my music actually took off when I was in 8th grade. And Mike Smith was the first person who ever posted me on social media. And from that, my music started taking off. And he was the first one to post me from my city, Miami. And from there, people just started picking up on me. And my cameraman one day, my old cameraman, he had texted me. His name was Spud. He was like, oh yeah, hey, I want to shoot a video for you. And I was like, sure, dope. And I was telling him like I want to shoot a documentary because I got a new tape coming up. And he delivered. And my mom was telling me like, nah, don't reach out to him no more because we don't know him. And I was like, Mom, I don't care. I want to do my music, and I finally want to take it serious. And I finally got somebody who actually really want to help me. And when I did it, he actually came through. And from that day forward, he kind of been like a mentor for me, because I don't know if he knew it or not, but the time when he was doing all that stuff for me, we was going through a lot because my grandma just had passed away. And when my grandma had passed away, we had lost our house. And when we lost our house, we was living in a place where no lights and roaches and, you know, sleeping on the floor and not really having no money to eat or nothing to eat, or we can't cook because the lights off. We can't shower because the water cold. Like, it was just a lot of stuff. And in that time, I was going through a lot of stuff. And I actually had got kicked out of school because it was a lot of problems in the school. And not because I was being bad, but because it was a lot of stuff that was going on. Me and my brother had got kicked out of middle school. And then I started staying at my grandma's house. And like, I was just going through a lot. And him being my mentor kind of like really pushed me and kept me going on the music as I got, you know, older. He was like my mentor kind of, and both of my brothers was in jail, so I didn't really have no brotherly love there at the moment. So he was like my brother and my mentor at the same time. And like, I just remember him always doing little stuff for me, like buying me clothes and make sure I'm fresh, you know, for my videos and all that. And he helped me release my tape, and we dropped this documentary. He helped me put out videos and stuff to stay on top of what I used to do. And we talked about labels, and we always had a dream, like when I signed, and we always talk about stuff like that, you know. And he was like how I really verged into actually taking it serious, because he was the first person that really believed in me to help me take it serious. And then when I finally got signed, by that time, I felt like Spud had distanced himself from me. And we never got to the bottom of that or never talked about it or anything. But on my end, I always felt like he felt like I wasn't focused. And I felt like he was there for me, but he also didn't see how bad I was going through it. With problems I had at home, with problems I had with myself, and a lot of stuff I was dealing with. And then my 9th grade year, a boy in my class had told me, he was like, you will never be a big rapper, you'll always stay local, you know, but you will never be that big though, but you will stay local. And I kid you not, 2 days later, I had made a real spill challenge to Iceberg. That was when the challenge was popular, and I had created a verse to it, and I recorded it on Instagram. And I remember because I came back from basketball practice, and my hair was like super messed up, and I had like a hard piece in my hair, and it just went so viral, and it was in 100,000 views plus, and I was just going viral. When I came back to school, and he was like just looking at me, couldn't even like say nothing to me, just looking at me, and they kept replaying in my head like, you will never be nothing, you'll just be local. You'll never be nothing, you'll just be local. I never forget his name, never forget the day. Like, it was like after he told me that, everything I had, I started to give. Like, anything I wanted to do, I started to do. And when I came back to school, everybody knew me. The more friends you got, the less people support you. Because when people your friend, they're like, oh, I don't have to support you because you know me, bro. You know that shit. Or like, you know it's more of a thing like that. And so even when I was blowing up, I didn't really make a lot of friends. I didn't really talk to a lot of people like that, and I stayed like that my whole way through high school until I got to like 11th grade, and I started making a little friends, but I was still more to myself. And I experienced disloyalty at a young age, so I knew right then and there that I didn't want to have friends. I just wanted to do what I had to do to get where I needed to go. And I remember when it was always time for me to shoot a video, I would call like little people who I call my friends, like, hey, yo, come to my video shoot. I got a video. I want you to slide through. I want you to be a part of it. I kid you not, I could never get one person to show up. Never. I could never get nobody to show up on my videos. And then the more I started blowing up, everybody like, I want to be a part of your video, and I want to be in your video. But it's like, now I don't need you no more. And I remember feeling so embarrassed and alone because I couldn't get nobody to show up in my videos. I'm this big, I'm this popular on Instagram, and still couldn't get my homies to show up in my videos. But at the end of the day, I had to face reality and learn that that was just hatred, and that was just people who I shouldn't have kept around, and that was people that shouldn't have been around me in the first place. Because people who care about you and who really love you and who really your friends gonna want to see you prosper. And that taught me that, and it's crazy. When I got signed, I actually got signed
LA on 2 weeks. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Just for that, I'm signing her. You got a record deal. So reach out. You got a record deal, LA. Not only did you win $2,500, you got a record deal. I'm signing you. You are signed by the Lights Global. You will be receiving a chain, LA. You're officially the Lights Global. I'm signing her.
And I was in Ross, and I was on my way to work. I never forget, I had on my Five Guys uniform and a big old grease stain and a big hole in the back. And I was in Ross line, and this is when COVID was super big. And it was 8 people in the store at a time. And we was in line, and they told me, they said, you got a record deal, and you won $2,000. And I just remember my mom loud, she did it, you did it, you did it. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, I did it. And I go in the store, and I'm so excited, and I can't even pick anything. And I'm like, let's go, let's leave. I don't even want to go to work. My mom was like, you got to go to work. And later on, I came home, and they had threw me a party, and my brother had came down, and we went to the studio, and I just remember feeling like I accomplished everything I ever said I would, and feeling like I'm on top of the world. I can do anything I put my mind to, and that was probably the last time I was happy, because after that moment and after those couple of days, my life started to go downhill, and it was just like a constant down, and my whole life, all I ever wanted to do was be signed, and all I ever wanted to do was for my music to get the recognition that it needed and that it deserved. And this actually didn't go exactly the way I wanted to. And a little bit after I got signed, I got COVID. And when I experienced COVID, I experienced depression and anxiety. And I was going through it for so long that I started to feel alone, and I started to feel like I failed myself. So I stopped making music for a long time. And before I got COVID, when I was a kid, I was the type of kid that went through my emotions. I was a real definition of a sad kid. Like, I always had a happy life, and I always was happy. But when I was going through pain, I wanted to feel everything. I wanted to feel every aspect. And if I needed to cry, I wanted to cry. I always was like that. When I had pain, I experienced it to the fullest. And I got to a point in my life, and that's why I made such good music, because I experienced my pain, and I used my pain to do my music. And after I got signed, I started to ignore my emotions, and I started to trying to be stronger, and I started to trying to do stuff differently. And I was running away from my emotions, and I was bottling up, and I didn't want to face the fact that I was sad, or I had a problem, or this, that, and the third. So I had a lot of pain in me that wasn't dealt with correctly. And when I experienced COVID, I experienced it all at once, depression and anxiety all at once. And I ran from everything that I had to deal with. So when I finally had that mental breakdown, it was like the worst time of my life. And I stopped performing, and I didn't want to be around people. And it was just a lot for me. It was something that I didn't know I was going to deal with. And as a kid, I was like, my dad, I knew my dad was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And as a kid, my life was based on, I never want to be like that. I never want to feel like I'm not myself. I never want to feel like this. And when I had anxiety and depression, I was so scared of becoming that way that I was still even trying to fight my anxiety and my depression and my feelings and my emotions. And then it got so bad that I was crying every day, and it was nothing that a human can do for me. It was nothing that my mom can hold me and do for me. It was nothing that my girlfriend can do for me, my family can do for me. It was more of something within myself that I needed help with, and I couldn't figure out how to cope. And then I got therapy. I didn't fully grasp to it. So when I did do therapy, I was missing a lot of days because it was a lot of nights I didn't get sleep. And I didn't get sleep because I didn't know how to go to sleep. Like, I was in so much pain, and I just had a lot of emotions that I didn't get to lay down at night. And then my sessions would be at 11 o'clock, and I would wake up and miss all of my sessions. So out of 7 months, I probably went to 12. And it was one every week. And the last day of therapy, I can never forget, I felt like breaking down in tears. Like, I felt like my life was over, because I knew it was my last day, but I knew I needed therapy more and far along that day. I knew I needed it, but I wanted to have this accomplishment, and I want to feel like I completed something, because I've been feeling like a lot of failure in all those past days, and I wanted to finally feel like I completed something. So it made me miserable, and I knew all those days are 7 months of therapy, and I still needed it. And it was a lot for me. Like, my last day of therapy made me feel like when I first started. Like, it had me back feeling like how I did when I first started. And I didn't want to feel that way. So it was a lot of stuff that I had to face during this tape, and do this. And while I'm writing this tape, I'm going through so much pain and anxiety, and I got so much in me that I need to get out. So I decided to make this tape, and I just like a lot the same. I had the same thought this whole entire tape. I had a lot of grief, a lot of stuff that I didn't grieve about the correct way, like my grandma's death. The night my grandma died, they were all in the living room, and they was laughing and playing and giggling, and she was happy, and everybody else was happy. And I wasn't there because I was in a room writing music, and I still have the laughter in my head playing over and over that day. And then the next day we woke up, she had passed away. She wasn't on her dying bed. Nothing was wrong with her. It's just that she passed away, you know. And that's something that I never forgave myself about, because I was there. Like, why didn't I just go out there and have fun too? Why didn't I just, you know, it's always something that I beat myself about. So from that day forward, I told myself, I'm gonna experience and I'm gonna love and I'm gonna value all the time that I have here with people that I love. And people always say I'm like so close to my mom, but it's because I experienced loss at a young age. And when you grow up not knowing that somebody is just gonna pass away and leave you, and you experience that so young, you learn how to value the people that's in your life today and around you every day. And that's what I do for my mother. Because if all I know is if anything ever happened to my mother, and anything ever happened to me, God forbid, or my mother, you know I went out, or she went out, and we both knowing that I did everything I could. I did everything I could, and I know I did. And I will do it over and over again, like it's our last day tomorrow. I'm always gonna give you all of me, and I'm always gonna give her all of me, because I never want to have to beat myself up like that again. My grandma's definitely something I never forgave myself about, and I never grieved the correct way. I cried at the funeral, and I cried at the day she died. And it's not that I didn't love her or anything. It's I didn't want to feel those emotions. So when I had got COVID, and when I finally had that breakdown, it got the best of me. And that's why I decided to do this tape, Ghetto Tears. I wanted to show the world that no matter what you're going through and no matter what you face, you can always beat it and you can always get through it. And if I could tell my younger self anything, I'd tell myself, just be you. And never let nobody tell you what you can't do. And never let nobody tell you that you can't achieve anything. Because only you can say what you can and can't do.